She ignored the most trusted decluttering rules, and somehow her home stayed cleaner, calmer, and more peaceful than every person who followed the manuals, the checklists, and the so-called expert-approved methods. And here's the surprising part. She didn't do it by working harder. She did it by breaking the rules in ways that made life easier for her aging body, gentler on her emotions, and kinder to her daily routines. Most people assume a spotless home comes from discipline or constant organizing, but seniors know the truth. It comes from methods that actually fit the season of life you're in. And Grandma Thelma Rose Finnegan understood that better than anyone. She didn't force herself into trends. She created small, wise habits that respected her energy and her comfort, and the results were better than any rulebook could promise. Before we go on, if this is already striking a chord with you, don't just hit that new hype button. It's YouTube's way of helping seniors' voices rise to the top. You get 3 free hypes every week, and every hype pushes videos like this higher so more people over 60 can discover them. What made Thelma so different wasn't that she was rebellious, it was that she paid attention. She noticed when a rule left her tired. She noticed when a system made her home feel tense instead of peaceful. And she especially noticed when a method worked beautifully the moment she loosened it, slowed it, or flipped it upside down. That's when her house transformed. She didn't declutter like a 30-year-old. She decluttered like someone who had lived a long, full life and understood that order comes from harmony, not pressure. And if you've ever felt overwhelmed by the right way to clean or organize, her approach might be the permission your heart has been waiting for, the permission to create a home that feels good to you, not just tidy on paper. Rule 1. Declutter room by room. Most people hear this rule and immediately picture the traditional scene. Standing in the doorway of a messy room, taking a deep breath, and bracing themselves for the battle ahead. But Thelma Rose Finnegan didn't believe in battles. Not at her age. Not with her knees. Not with her energy. She believed in wisdom, pacing, and keeping her home peaceful without overwhelming herself. That's why she broke the rule entirely and replaced it with something that fit her life, not the life of a 25-year-old organizer with unlimited stamina. Her approach started with a simple thought: why force myself to do everything when I'm only meant to do what's right in front of me? That shift changed everything. Instead of choosing a room, she chose a moment. A single moment. The moment when she opened a drawer. The moment when she walked past an item she no longer used. The moment when she sat down and noticed a stack of old papers that didn't need to be there. Each tiny opportunity became a doorway to progress, and because she didn't frame it as a chore, her brain didn't resist it. There was no dread, no heaviness, no countdown to exhaustion. Just one small decision at a time. For seniors, this method is powerful because it matches the way energy works later in life. Some mornings you feel strong enough to tidy a shelf. Some afternoons you only have the energy to toss one expired spice jar. Some evenings you're already seated in your favorite chair and realize the end table drawer has things you haven't touched in a decade. Every tiny action still counts. Thelma knew this, and she embraced it. She also understood that full room decluttering leads to what she called the avalanche problem. You start moving things around, and suddenly the whole room looks worse than before. You lose confidence midway. You sit down to rest for a second, and that second becomes the end of the project. And when you wake up the next morning to a room half torn apart, the guilt and frustration double. Thelma refused to put herself through that emotional spiral. Instead, her home always looked a little better than it did the day before, never worse. Over time, this moment-by-moment method created something magical, compounding progress. One item led to another. One drawer led to a corner. One corner led to a shelf. And because she never burned herself out, she kept going naturally, almost without thinking about it. Her home felt lighter, calmer, and easier to move through because no single mess was allowed to grow roots. This approach also helped her stay connected to her belongings in a gentle, thoughtful way. She wasn't ripping through rooms in frustration. She was noticing what her home actually needed, what no longer fit her life, and what brought a sense of calm. That mindfulness gave her clarity and prevented regret. She didn't declutter out of pressure, she decluttered out of understanding. It's funny, because when her neighbors asked how she kept her home so tidy, she never mentioned a schedule or a system. She never said she dedicated whole days to cleaning. She simply said, "I do what needs doing, right when I see it." And that simple philosophy, aligned with the slower, wiser pace of older adulthood, left her house looking like a place where everything had its purpose and nothing felt heavy. Be honest with yourself for a second. Do big cleaning days drain you too? Rule 2. Toss anything you haven't used in a year. Thelma always chuckled at this rule because, in her words, a year goes by faster the older you get. And she wasn't wrong. For many younger people, life shifts quickly. New hobbies, new jobs, new routines. But seniors live in rhythms that stretch differently. What isn't used this year might be deeply needed next year, or only used during a certain season, or tied to a physical need that comes and goes. Thelma understood this in a way only someone with decades of lived experience could. So she refused to treat the one-year rule as a universal law. Instead, she created something far more personal, more flexible, and more accurate: the daily relevance test. Every morning when she moved through her home, she paid quiet attention to what supported her life today. Not last year. Not 10 years ago. Not during a phase she had grown out of. Today. She asked herself one simple question: does this help the version of me I am right now? That question acted like a lens, sharpening her awareness and helping her see what genuinely served her present needs. It cut through guilt, nostalgia, and pressure because it wasn't a rule designed by someone else. It was a question that honored her lived reality. This method works especially well for seniors because life after 60 doesn't always follow a fast-changing timeline. Some items become more useful with age: supportive shoes, seasonal kitchen tools, comfort-oriented clothing. Other items serve health-related routines that come and go depending on mobility, energy levels, or medical advice. The one-year rule ignores those nuances, but the daily relevance test embraces them. It lets seniors keep what makes their life easier while clearing out what quietly weighs them down. And here's the beauty of her method: it didn't encourage hoarding or clutter. It encouraged clarity. When an item no longer matched her lifestyle, it stood out immediately. She didn't need a calendar reminder or a strict timeline to decide. A pot she hadn't cooked with in years felt irrelevant. A jacket she hadn't reached for in 3 winters felt loud in the closet. A stack of magazines she kept out of habit suddenly felt like visual noise. The daily relevance test made those realizations effortless. She also understood something most decluttering rules overlook: seniors build routines that are tied to comfort, not novelty. A favorite mug might be used weekly, but only during certain seasons. A warm sweater may not leave the drawer all summer but becomes essential during colder months. These things weren't clutter, they were part of the rhythm of her life. Thelma honored that rhythm instead of forcing herself to follow someone else's standard of minimalism. This approach also aligns with a modern trend among US seniors: functional minimalism. It's not about owning less for the sake of an aesthetic. It's about owning what genuinely supports daily life, items that make living easier, safer, and calmer. Thelma wasn't interested in Instagram minimalism. She wanted comfort minimalism. Supportive minimalism. And because of that, her home never felt empty or sterile. It felt lived in, but never cluttered. Her friends were always amazed at how tidy her home looked, especially considering she didn't follow rigid decluttering challenges. What they didn't realize was that her home was so peaceful because she honored her current life instead of trying to match someone else's timeline. She wasn't keeping unnecessary things. She was keeping relevant things. Things with purpose. Things that matched the woman she was today. And yet, there was one item she held on to longer than anyone expected. And when people learned the reason, it left them completely speechless. Rule 3. Start with easy items. Most decluttering advice says, warm up with the easy stuff first. The logic sounds harmless: start small, build confidence, save the hard emotional items for later. But Thelma Rose Finnegan learned something most seniors eventually understand: the easy items are never the real problem. A drawer full of old pens isn't what keeps you up at night. A stack of unused t-shirts isn't what steals your peace. It's the emotional items, the ones that whisper every time you walk past them, the objects carrying memories, guilt, grief, or chapters you haven't fully closed. Those are the things that create mental noise. And Thelma refused to let that noise shape the energy of her home. So she broke the rule completely. Instead of starting with the easiest category, she went straight to the item that felt heaviest on her heart. Not all of them at once, just one. The one that tugged at her attention every time she entered the room. The one she avoided touching. The one she always told herself she'd deal with one day. She called it the loudest item, because even when it was silent, it spoke loudly in her mind. Once she realized how much space that single object took up emotionally, she knew she had to face it before anything else. This approach is incredibly powerful for seniors because emotional clutter often shapes the home more than physical clutter. A letter from someone who's passed away. A gift from a relationship that ended years ago. Papers from a career that once defined you but doesn't anymore. Clothing from a version of yourself you've outgrown. These items don't just sit in a room, they sit in your thoughts. They weigh down decision-making. They drain motivation. They make every other task feel heavier. Thelma understood something subtle but profound. If she ignored the emotional bottleneck, everything else felt like pushing against a current. But the moment she faced that one heavy item, really faced it, the current reversed. The room felt lighter. Her shoulders relaxed. Her mind grew calmer. Suddenly, the easy items practically organized themselves because there was no emotional fog blocking her momentum. She didn't force herself to let go of sentimental things out of guilt or pressure. Instead, she had a gentle ritual. She'd sit down, breathe deeply, hold the item, and ask herself the simplest question: am I keeping this because it comforts me or because it burdens me? That clarity changed everything. She made decisions from a place of peace, not panic. And once that loudest item was handled, her home responded immediately. The whole space felt uncluttered even before she touched anything else. For seniors, this method honors emotional truth. After 60, life is layered with memories. Each object carries stories. But that doesn't mean every story needs to remain physically present. Thelma discovered that removing just one emotionally heavy item freed up mental energy she didn't even realize she had been losing. Her motivation returned. Her confidence grew. She found herself moving more easily, making faster decisions, and actually wanting to continue. Not because she had to, but because she finally felt ready. What's remarkable is how quickly her environment shifted. Her daughter once walked into her home after Thelma removed just one emotionally loaded keepsake and said, "Something feels different in here. Did you clean?" And Thelma simply smiled, knowing she had only moved one item, yet the emotional atmosphere had changed dramatically. And wait until you hear which item was loudest for her. Rule 4. Never revisit a decision once you've made it. Most decluttering guides insist you must make a decision and stick to it instantly. No second guessing, no circling back, no softening your choice later. But Thelma Rose Finnegan knew that the older you get, the more layered your relationship with your belongings becomes. A sweater isn't just a sweater. A letter isn't just a letter. A set of dishes might be tied to a marriage, a milestone, a chapter of life that feels too heavy or too tender to rush through. Forcing instant decisions felt harsh to her, almost disrespectful to the emotional weight behind certain items. So she broke the rule completely and gave herself something the experts never mention: a 24-hour reconsideration window. To her, this wasn't undoing progress. It wasn't indecision. It was kindness. She would place questionable items in what she called her soft pile. Not the trash, not the donation box, just a gentle in-between space where nothing was final yet. She allowed herself one full day to sit with the decision without pressure. During that time, she didn't overthink it. She didn't stare at the pile. She simply lived her day. If the item stayed off her mind, that told her everything she needed to know. But if something tugged at her heart, if a memory surfaced, or if she realized the item still held real purpose, she honored that and let herself keep it. The surprising twist. Giving herself permission to reconsider actually helped her let go of more things, not fewer. Once she knew she could take something back, the fear disappeared. The guilt dissolved. Her guard dropped. Decisions became clearer because she wasn't backing herself into a corner. She wasn't punishing herself for hesitating. She wasn't afraid of making a mistake. And that emotional safety made her choices more honest. Many seniors carry the fear of regret, especially when items hold decades of memories. It's not the object itself, it's the worry about losing part of your history. Thelma's 24-hour window protected her from that fear. Suddenly, decluttering didn't feel like cutting pieces of her life away. It felt like sorting her life with gentleness and intention. And once the pressure was gone, she realized some things she had clung to for years didn't actually comfort her anymore. They were simply familiar. Something else happened too. Her mind relaxed. When she stopped forcing absolute decisions, her brain stopped treating decluttering like a threat. She wasn't bracing for emotional pain. She wasn't afraid of losing something meaningful. That shift freed up mental space and confidence. She found herself making quicker, calmer decisions because her heart wasn't fighting her. The ripple effect was huge. Her soft pile became a quiet teacher. Items she truly didn't need lost their emotional pull overnight. And the things that mattered revealed themselves without drama. Instead of regretting her choices, she trusted them more deeply because she gave herself time to confirm them. This method is incredibly empowering for seniors because it aligns with the natural emotional pace of later life. Decisions aren't rushed. Memories are respected. Feelings are allowed to surface gently. The result? A cleaner home, not from pushing harder, but from giving yourself space to breathe. Would a regret-free window help you declutter? Rule 5. Keep only what sparks joy. When the spark joy rule became popular, younger people embraced it instantly. But Thelma Rose Finnegan listened to it, smiled politely, and whispered, "My dear, joy isn't the only feeling that matters." At her age, she understood something deeper. Joy is beautiful, but it comes and goes like weather. Peace, however, peace stays. And in the later chapters of life, it's peace, not excitement, that makes a home feel safe, warm, and truly restful. So she broke the rule, not out of rebellion, but out of wisdom. Instead of choosing what sparked joy, she kept what sparked peace. Peace objects were different. They weren't flashy. They didn't give her a rush of excitement. They didn't make her heart race. They made it settle. They softened her breathing. They made a room feel like somewhere she wanted to stay a while. Thelma realized that some items brought joy in the past but no longer matched her daily life. Clothes she used to wear to big gatherings, decor that felt too loud now, sentimental pieces that were lovely but emotionally busy. Those things didn't calm her. They didn't support the slower, steadier pace she lived in now. So she started asking a new question: does this make my spirit softer or noisier? If an item created even the slightest tension, a memory she wasn't ready to hold, a sense of obligation, a reminder of old roles she no longer played, she gently released it. And slowly, her home transformed from a place filled with things she used to love into a sanctuary that matched the woman she had become. Seniors often discover that joy shifts as life shifts. The objects that made them smile at 40 may feel overwhelming at 70. There's things that once represented pride or success may feel like emotional clutter now. Thelma noticed this evolution and allowed herself to update her home to reflect her new center of gravity. She didn't chase happiness in objects. She didn't demand excitement from her environment. She wanted items that allowed her mind to settle, her body to relax, and her home to feel like a refuge from the noise of the outside world. And here's why this rule works better for older adults. Peace is sustainable. Joy is episodic. Peace stays with you when the house is quiet, when the day is long, when your body feels tired, when the weather keeps you indoors. Peace supports your mood on the hard days. Peace helps you think clearly. Peace makes your home easier to navigate physically and emotionally. And most importantly, peace reduces stress, something seniors deserve far more of. This aligns beautifully with a growing trend among US seniors: calm minimalism. Not the stark, white, ultramodern version younger people post online. No, seniors are embracing warm minimalism, soft minimalism, functional minimalism. Fewer items, but items that feel comforting. Not empty surfaces, but breathable spaces. Thelma's home didn't look like a showroom. It looked like a quiet morning. Her family noticed the shift immediately. One of her grandchildren once said, "Grandma, your house feels like a deep breath." And that was the exact result of choosing peace over joy. Her shelves weren't crowded. Her rooms weren't loud with color or objects. Everything she kept supported her daily ease. Nothing demanded emotional energy. The truth is, at a certain stage of life, joy is found in people, in moments, in small routines, not in piles of belongings. Peace is what the home must hold. And Thelma, in her gentle way, built a sanctuary without following any trend. She simply recognized that joy might come and go, but peace is the feeling that makes life livable. Rule 6. Stop buying storage or organizers. Thelma Rose Finnegan heard this rule repeated everywhere. Don't buy more bins. Don't buy containers. Declutter first, then organize. But she noticed something those rule makers never talked about. Almost all of their advice was created for younger bodies. People who could bend without a second thought, stretch overhead without losing balance, lift heavy lids with strong wrists, and crouch down without a jolt of pain. Seniors don't move like that, and pretending they do leads to frustration, strain, and even injury. So Thelma broke the rule with confidence. Instead of avoiding storage, she upgraded it. She bought organizers designed for the way her body moved today, not 20 years ago. Her philosophy was simple: if something hurts to reach, I won't put it away. And if I don't put it away, it becomes clutter. That single realization changed everything. She began replacing old, awkward storage with smart, accessible alternatives. Lightweight bins that didn't strain her arms. Front-opening containers she didn't have to unstack. Low-reach shelves that kept daily items within comfortable distance. Jars with easy-grip lids. Drawers with smooth gliding tracks. It wasn't about having more things, it was about making the things she kept easier to manage. Before long, she noticed something surprising. Her home became cleaner almost effortlessly. Why? Because everything finally had a home she could actually use. Not the high shelf she needed a stool to reach. Not the deep cabinet that swallowed items whole. Not the stiff box that required 2 hands to open. Her storage worked with her body, not against it. And when putting things away no longer hurt, she stopped avoiding it. That single shift reduced her daily clutter more effectively than any strict minimalist rule ever had. Many seniors underestimate how much clutter comes from physical obstacles, not laziness or poor habits. Thelma understood this clearly. She knew her joints weren't the same. Her balance wasn't the same. Her strength wasn't the same. And instead of fighting that reality, she adapted to it. She let her home evolve with her needs. She brought items down to lower levels. She removed heavy wooden lids and replaced them with soft close plastic tops. She added a rolling cart in the kitchen so she didn't have to carry heavy bowls across the room. Every modification made cleaning gentler, safer, and more realistic. Family members who visited noticed how organized everything looked, not because she had less, but because she had smarter systems. And the best part? Her new storage didn't create more clutter as some people fear. It prevented it. With the right containers, items stopped scattering. With the right shelves, surfaces stayed clear. With the right handles, she could tidy without hesitation. Everything flowed because everything fit her abilities. This aligns with a huge trend among US seniors: accessible living. Home organizers, occupational therapists, and aging-in-place specialists are shifting toward functional storage. Things designed specifically for older adults with limited mobility. It's not about flashy aesthetics. It's about safety, ease, and independence. And Thelma embraced this long before it became a trend. Her home became a place where nothing felt out of reach, literally and emotionally. She didn't feel defeated by tasks. She didn't dread putting things away. She created a home environment that supported her, not challenged her. And because of that, her space looked cleaner, calmer, and more polished than homes belonging to younger people who followed every rule to the letter. But her final broken rule, that one shook everyone. It's the rule nobody agrees with, until they see her results. Rule 7. Handle everything immediately. This was the rule Thelma Rose Finnegan rejected the fastest. Every organizer on TV said the same thing: if you touch it, deal with it right away. But Thelma knew that rule was written for people with quick-moving bodies, clear energy, and days without interruptions. Life after 60 doesn't work like that. Some mornings begin slow. Some afternoons bring unexpected fatigue. Some evenings you simply don't have the mental bandwidth to decide where something belongs. And if you force yourself to keep up with impossible expectations, you end up exhausted and frustrated, and the clutter still wins. So she broke the rule entirely and created something far more realistic: her not today basket. It wasn't a dumping zone. It wasn't a black hole where things vanished. It was one single, intentional basket where she placed items she didn't want to rush, didn't want to misplace, or didn't feel ready to decide about in the moment. It gave her breathing room. It gave her flexibility. It gave her emotional space. Instead of demanding instant decisions, she allowed herself to say, not today, but soon. And just like that, the pressure disappeared. Here's why this method works beautifully for seniors. Aging bodies and aging brains work best with pacing. Quick decisions require energy, emotional, physical, and cognitive. The constant pressure to handle everything immediately leads to decision fatigue, the silent thief of motivation. Once decision fatigue sets in, clutter grows because the brain starts to shut down and avoid choices altogether. Thelma's Not Today basket broke that cycle. It acknowledged her limits without letting things spiral into chaos. But the smartest part of her system was how she structured it. She didn't leave the basket untouched for weeks or months. She gave it one specific role. Every Sunday morning, with her tea and soft music playing, she sat down and sorted everything inside. One day, one basket, one calm session. No rush, no guilt. She was rested. She was clear. She was centered. Decisions that felt heavy on Wednesday became simple on Sunday because her mind had time to settle. This rhythm prevented piles from forming around the house. Instead of items landing on counters, chairs, or nightstands just for now, they had one landing place. One. And because the basket had a weekly routine attached to it, she never let it overflow. Some Sundays it took 10 minutes. Other Sundays it took 20. But it never overwhelmed her because she paced herself with intention. Her daughter once asked, "Mom, how is your house always tidy when you don't pick things up immediately?" And Thelma smiled and said, "A clean home isn't about speed, it's about rhythm." By respecting her rhythm, she kept her home clear without draining herself. This method also gave her something unexpected: emotional clarity. When items stayed in the basket for a few days, she could feel which things still mattered and which ones didn't. A magazine she thought she wanted to keep suddenly felt unnecessary. A kitchen tool she wasn't sure about became easy to let go of. A sentimental card she feared tossing felt less painful after a few days of emotional distance. Most seniors don't need instructions to move faster. They need permission to slow down without guilt. Thelma's Not Today basket delivered exactly that. It turned pacing into a strength, not a flaw. It honored her energy. It protected her peace. And her home looked spotless not because she rushed, but because she created a routine that matched her real life, not the unrealistic standards placed on her. When people walked into Thelma Rose Finnegan's home, they always paused at the doorway. The air felt different. Lighter. Softer. As if the rooms themselves were exhaling. There was no sense of hurry, no tension, no clutter waiting to be handled one day. Her home didn't shine because she followed strict instructions. It shined because she finally let herself live in a way that felt kind, sustainable, and deeply human. She decluttered slower, and somehow ended up with better results than anyone who sprinted through weekend cleaning marathons. The slowness wasn't a weakness. It was her superpower. It allowed her to think clearly, move gently, and give every decision the calm space it deserved. She chose peace over pressure, and that choice rippled through every corner of her home. The rooms became places where her spirit could settle. The shelves held only what felt grounding. The floors were clear not because she forced herself to tidy constantly, but because she created systems that worked for her real life, her current body, her current energy, her current needs. She didn't chase perfection. She chased harmony. And harmony won. This is what made her home feel truly different. Nothing in it fought against her aging. She arranged her environment like someone who respected her limits and cherished her comfort. Her storage opened easily. Her routines matched her pace. Her decisions were thoughtful, not rushed. And because everything supported her instead of challenging her, she moved through her home with ease. It didn't drain her, it restored her. Seniors who hear her story often feel a deep emotional recognition. There's something freeing in realizing the rules that frustrated you weren't wrong, they just weren't written for the season of life you're in. You are not supposed to declutter like you did at 30. You are not supposed to force energy you no longer have. You are allowed to slow down. You are allowed to choose comfort. You are allowed to build a home that fits the version of you who exists right now. Maybe the rules never fit you because they were never designed with you in mind. And maybe that's the permission you've been needing all along. Before you go, here's how you can hype this video and support this channel. Step 1. On your YouTube app, scroll down and swipe left on the comment preview carousel until you see the hype button. Step 2. Tap hype. Step 3. Choose how many points you want to give. Remember, smaller creators get a bigger bonus boost. Step 4. Confirm, and you're done. You get 3 free hypes every week, and every hype pushes this video higher on the leaderboard so more people can discover it. And if you hype often, you can even earn a hype star badge showing you're one of this channel's top supporters. While you're at it, don't forget to like this video, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on fresh stories and tips. Go ahead, tap hype, hit like, and make sure you're subscribed. Together, we can grow this community and help more seniors create homes that feel peaceful, supportive, and beautifully their own.